Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be discussing the Title 6 of the Republic Act number 10A6G, or also known as the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, or the CMT. And specifically, we will cover Section 600 to 604, which deal with the customs transit and transshipment. So these two are very important but often confused procedures in the customs law. Okay, so we will have five sections to cover today, 600 through 604, all found under the title 6 of the CMTA. Alright, so for the section 600, it tells us the four modes of customs transit allowed within the Philippine territory, while in section 601, draws the line between transit goods that are duty-free and those that are dutiable goods. And for the section 602, it deals with the security that carriers must post, while Section 603 covers transshipment. This is a specific type of movement where goods pass through one customs office from one vessel to another. And for the Section 604, covers it covers immediate re-exportation. So this is when goods enter the Philippines but are intended to go right back out of the Philippines. So these five sections work together as a systems. So let's examine each one. So for the section 600, which covers the customs transit, so that is the movement of the goods within the Philippine customs territory without those goods being cleared for consumption. So the law is clear, no? So goods intended for consumption cannot move under customs transit. So the transit is for goods that are passing through only. So going to somewhere else, not staying here for local use. Okay? So the law allows customs transit in four specific modes. First is letter A, from a port of entry to another port of entry as an exit point. This is for the goods that will be exported outright. Next, B is from a port of entry to another port of entry or an inland customs office. This is for the goods moving within the country. And C, from an inland customs office to a port of entry as an exit point. Again, for outright exportation. And D, from one port of entry or inland customs office to another port of entry or inland customs office. So this is a general internal movement. Okay, so take note of these key rules. So first, for the first is this is a transit permit. There's a transit permit required, and without it, the transit is not authorized. Okay. Second, you may transfer goods from one means of transport to another during the transit, but you must not break or tamper the customs seal. Okay, so once you break that seal, you will trigger the you will trigger a violation, no? And the third, the party is responsible for the transit goods must ensure that the goods arrive intact and on time at the customs office of destination. Lastly, part 1, failure to comply means that the goods become immediately subject to duties, taxes, fines, also penalties and surcharges. Okay? So again, customs transit is a privilege, no? But it's not a right. It comes with strict obligations. Next, Section 601 answers the questions: do transit goods have to pay duties and taxes? The answer depends on what the goods are ultimately for. Now, exempt from duties and taxes. So there are three categories. So first is the goods admitted for storage in a customs bonded warehouse. So these goods are in the country temporarily and stored under customs control and will eventually be re-exported or cleared at a later time. Okay. Second, goods for outright exportation at the port of destination or inland customs office. So these goods are just passing through and leaving the Philippines. Third one, goods covered by the Republic Act number 10668, which allows foreign vessels to carry and co-load foreign cargoes for the domestic transshipment. So there's a condition. No? The goods must comply with all the Bureau requirements and security conditions. On the other hand, for the dutiable transit goods, if the goods are for consumption, meaning they will enter the Philippine market, they are subject to duties and taxes. And the key point here is that these duties are assessed and collected at the port of discharge, not at the port of entry. Okay, so any other transit goods not in the exempt categories are also dutiable. So the distinction is really about the ultimate destination of the goods. Okay, so going to a banded warehouse or leaving the country, so that is exempted. No, but if it's entering the local commerce, then it is dutiable. And for the Section 602 imposes a final financial obligation on carriers. So the shipping lines, the airlines, and the freight operators who physically move transit goods from one port to another. So any carrier transporting imported goods under customs transit must post a general transportation security of at least 50,000 pesos. Can this amount change? Yes, the commissioner may adjust it because the commissioner may adjust it and it is subject to the approval of the Secretary of Finance. So why does the law require this security? It has three main purposes. Okay, so the first purpose is to ensure complete and immediate delivery of the transit goods to the customs officer at the destination port. Now, the carrier cannot simply abandon or lose goods in transit. Purpose two is to guarantee payment of customs charges and expenses related to the transit. And the purpose three, to cover the other transfer costs that may be incurred during transit. And who posts this security? Who will post this security? It is the carrier and not the importer or not the consignee. Right? So the carrier takes on legal and financial responsibility for the safe and compliant delivery of that goods while they are in transit. So think of this security as the carrier's bond. Okay, this is a financial guarantee that they will do their job correctly. Next, Section 603, it governs customs transshipment, which is different from transit. So let's define it precisely. So the transshipment is the transfer of goods, and this is under customs control from the importing means of transport to the exporting means of transport. And this all happens within one area of one customs office. That same customs office serves as both the office of importation and exportation, and that is for the transshipment. So if a vessel arrives at the port of Manila with cargo that needs to transfer to another ship also at Manila for export, so that is transshipment, right? So compare that to transit. The transit the transit is where the goods move from one port to another port. Okay, so the transshipment stays within the jurisdictions of the single customs office, right? And the duty and tax status. No, the goods admitted for transshipment are not subject to duties and taxes, provided that the goods declaration specifically indicates that the goods are for transshipment. All right, so it should be indicated that goods are for transshipment, and it is supported by commercial or transport documents or other evidence as required by the Bureau of Customs. And here is the critical time rule. So the goods for the transshipment must be exported from the Philippines within 30 days from the arrival. Can this be extended? These 30 days? Can this be extended? Yes. The commissioner may allow an extension, but only upon establishment of valid reasons. Okay, so to summarize the three requirements for duty exemption under Section 603, first is the goods declaration must particularly indicate that goods are for transshipment. Second, it must be supported by commercial and or transport documents. Three, the goods must actually be exported within 30 days deadline or approved extension by the commissioner. All right, so let's go on to section 604 and it covers a scenario where the goods arrived in the Philippines but are intended to go right back out of the Philippines. Okay? This is an immediate re-exportation. So when is this triggered? When is this triggered? When the intent to re-export is shown by the bill of lading or invoice, manifest, or other satisfactory evidence at the time of entry. So let's walk through the four elements. First, entry for immediate re-exportation. So the whole or any part of a bill not less than one package may be entered for immediate re-exportation under the security. Okay, so the goods do not go through the full import clearance process. Second, constructive warehouse designation. So the district collector shall designate the vessel or aircraft in which the goods are loaded as a constructive warehouse. Why? Why? It's because to facilitate the direct transfer of goods from the arriving vessel to the exporting vessel or aircraft. So this is a legal fiction. So the ship itself becomes the warehouse. Okay. Three, security requirement. So here is an important rule. So if the bill of lading, the invoice, or manifest does not show the goods are destined for transshipment, so there is no exportation is allowed, except it is under entry for immediate re-exportation with sufficient security equal to the ascertained duties, taxes, and other charges. All right, and then step four, fourth one, release of the security. So once the goods are successfully re-exported and the importer produces proof of landing beyond the Philippines, so the security is released. Okay? So the security protects the government. If the goods don't actually leave, the Bureau of Customs keeps that security and collects what would have been the duties and taxes. Okay? Now, let's see these three procedures side by side so you don't confuse them in your exam or in your practice. For the movement, so the transit moves within the customs territory, which is port to port, no? And immediate and transshipment happens within one customs office. All right, so it is ship to ship, no? And immediate exportation exits the Philippines after a brief entry. Okay, and for the duties and tax for the transit, it depends. It will be exempted if going to bonded warehouse or for export. And it is dutiable if for consumption. For the transshipment, this the goods are fully exempt, no duties and taxes. And for the immediate re-exportation, so the goods enter under security. and the security released only upon proof of re-exportation or re-export. Alright? So document requirement. So for the transit, the document needed is the transit permit. For the transshipment naman, goods declaration noting that the goods is for transshipment and with supporting documents. And for the immediate re-exportation, bill of lading or manifest showing the intent to re-export. And for the time limit, the transit, for the transit, it follows the prescribed itinerary. For the transshipment, 30 days from the arrival, and it is extendable with a valid reason. And immediate re-exportation, so no fixed time limit, but proof of landing must be produced. And for the security posted, so for the transit, the carrier will be posting the security with a minimum of 50,000 pesos under the section 602. Okay, and for the transshipment, so none required from the party. So there's no need to post a security. Okay, and for the immediate re-exportation, the importer or the declarant will be shoulder the security post. Okay, in the amount equal to that duties and taxes. Okay. Question. If a container ship arrives in Cebu with cargo that will transfer directly to another vessel leaving the Singapore and no movement between ports, what procedure will apply? Again, if a container ship arrives in Cebu with cargo that will transfer directly to another vessel leaving for Singapore and no movement between ports, what procedure applies? The answer is transshipment under the section 603 because it's the same customs office and same port. Okay, and it is duty exempt but must be exported within 30 days and it is extendable with a valid reason. Okay, so here's your let's test your understanding and here's your assignment and should be passed within the day. All right, so okay, so let's close this with our 5 key takeaways. So one for each section. So for the section 600, the customs transit is allowed for goods and that are not for consumption in 4 specific modes, no? Or require a permit, a transit permit, intact delivery, and compliance with the prescribed itinerary. And if you fail to comply, means this is immediate duties and penalties. For the section 601, the transit goods going to a bonded warehouse or for outright exportation are duty free. And the goods for consumption are taxed, and that tax is collected at the port of discharge. Okay? And section 602, the carriers bears the obligation of posting a minimum of 50,000 pesos security to guarantee the delivery and payment of customs charges. So this amount may be adjusted by the commissioner with Finance Secretary approval. Next is the section 603. So the transshipment goods are duty exempt if properly declared, but must be exported within 30 days of arrival. And extension is possible only with valid reasons and approved by the Commissioner of Customs. And lastly, the section 604, goods for immediate re-exportation may enter the Philippines under security equal to the duties and taxes. So the security is released only uh, upon presenting a proof of landing abroad. All right? So again, Customs transit and transshipment are about the movement of goods through the Philippines without integrating them into our domestic economy. So the law allows this because international trade depends on it, but with clear conditions and also strict timelines and financial guarantees to protect the government revenue. Okay, so understand these rules and you understand how global commerce flows through our ports. All right, so that's all for today. Goodbye, class. See you next meeting.